Welcome back to the Gold IRA Blueprint podcast. You know how this works? You send us the stuff you're trying to figure out, and we sort of break it down and try to give you the highlights,
Yeah,
and make sure you walk away feeling like you learned something.
exactly.
And speaking of gold, if you're looking to add some shine to your retirement portfolio, don't forget to grab our free checklist to help you choose the right Gold IRA company. Just go to goldirablueprint.com/exclusive, and you'll be set.
It's a really great resource, especially if you're like new to gold IRAs and you're just trying to make sure you're making good choices.
Absolutely. Now, for today's deep dive, we're going to be looking at SEP IRAs.
Okay.
You sent us a really informative article from, Gold IRA Blueprint, so it's sort of like we're looking in a mirror, right?
Very meta.
Yeah.
Very meta indeed. But it is interesting to sort of dissect it and see what we can pull out of it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's unpack this, starting with what a SEP IRA even is. It's a retirement plan, but it's specifically designed for small business owners and self-employed people.
Right.
And one of the things that the article emphasizes is just how simplified this whole SEP IRA thing is.
Yeah. And it's not just in the name. SEP stands for Simplified Employee Pension.
Okay.
And it really does live up to that.
Yeah.
It offers all of the benefits of a traditional retirement plan, but without all of the administrative headaches that can come with some of them.
So it's like having your retirement cake and eating it too.
Yeah.
All the perks without the paperwork.
Exactly.
Yeah, the article talks about how easy it is to set up and maintain, which is, I imagine, pretty appealing to a busy entrepreneur.
Oh, absolutely. For a small business owner, time is so valuable.
Right.
And, a SEP IRA acknowledges that and makes it very easy.
Yeah, and then, of course, you can't forget about the tax advantages.
Right.
The article goes into how the contributions are tax deductible, just like a traditional IRA. And all that investment growth happens tax deferred until you retire.
That's right. You get a little bonus from Uncle Sam
Yeah.
for being proactive about your future.
Now, one of the things I thought was really interesting was the flexibility that SEP IRAs offer, especially if you're self-employed. You're not locked into contributing the same amount every year.
Right.
You can adjust your contributions depending on how your business is doing.
Absolutely. You can adapt to the ebb and flow of your income.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a great year, you want to stash away a lot more, you can.
Yep.
But if things are a little bit tight, you're not penalized for contributing less or even skipping a year.
Yeah, that's going to take a lot of pressure off.
Yeah.
Especially when you're, kind of navigating the uncertainties of running your own business.
Absolutely. You're not locked into some rigid contribution schedule.
Right.
It really allows you to make strategic decisions that work best for you.
Okay, so we've established that they're relatively simple to manage and they have some pretty appealing tax advantages.
Right.
But who exactly qualifies for this retirement haven?
Well, it's definitely aimed at self-employed individuals and small business owners.
Okay.
But there is a bit of a twist when it comes to employees.
Okay.
If you have employees and you choose to contribute to your own SEP IRA, you have to make contributions to their SEP IRA as well.
So it's not just about taking care of your own retirement.
Yeah.
If you're contributing, you got to spread the wealth.
You got it. And it has to be proportionate, too.
Sure.
You have to contribute the same percentage of salary for everyone.
Okay.
So if you're putting in 15% of your income, you have to do the same for each eligible employee.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fair.
Right.
But I imagine that could be a pretty big financial commitment for some small business owners.
Absolutely.
Something to think about.
It is.
Now, the article goes on to list the specific requirements for employees to be eligible for SEP IRA contribution.
It's not as simple as just being on the payroll.
Yeah. So they have to be at least 21 years old.
Okay.
They have to have worked for you for 3 out of the past 5 years.
Wow.
And have earned at least $750 in 2023 or 2024.
So if you've got like a part-time college student working for you over the summer,
Right.
they don't qualify.
Not yet.
They got to be a little more established.
Yeah.
Got it.
And there were slightly different earning thresholds for previous years, but the $750 is the current benchmark.
All right, so we've got a pretty good handle on the eligibility requirements. Now let's talk about contribution limits.
Okay.
How high can you actually go with these SEP IRA contributions? The article breaks it down for both employers and the self-employed.
Right.
Which can get a little tricky.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah.
So,
well, for those with employees, you can contribute up to 25% of the employee's compensation.
Okay.
But there's a ceiling there.
Okay.
$66,000 for 2023.
So even if, like, My superstar employee is bringing in a ton of money.
Right.
The most I can contribute is $66,000.
That's right. That's the cap for 2023.
Okay, and that's for each employee.
That's right.
Wow. That's still a pretty generous chunk of change, though,
Yeah,
to be putting away for retirement.
it is.
What about for someone like me, flying solo, self-employed?
Uh-huh.
How do I figure out my contribution limit?
So for the self-employed, it's a little bit more nuanced.
Okay.
Your contribution is limited to 25% of your net profit,
Hmm.
but you have to first subtract half of your self-employment tax and your own SEP contribution from your net profit.
Oh, so it's not as straightforward as just like taking 25% off the top.
No, it's not.
That.
There's a little bit more math involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see where people will get tripped up there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
worth really taking the time to understand that calculation.
Yeah.
Or even better, consult with a financial advisor to make
Mhm.
sure you're maximizing your contributions.
Now, the article mentions something about these contributions potentially being rolled over into a traditional IRA
Mm.
later on. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so each SEP contribution can be rolled over into a traditional IRA later on,
Okay.
which can be a strategic move for, diversifying your retirement savings.
So it's kind of like having multiple streams
Yeah.
flowing into your retirement river.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
It's all about having a robust portfolio.
Now, the article also highlights that all SEP contributions are 100% vested.
Yes,
That sounds like a pretty good deal
it is.
for employees.
Vesting basically means ownership.
Okay.
So 100% vesting means that they own their contributions from day one.
So even if they decide to leave and go work somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
that money's theirs.
That's right. It's theirs to keep.
Wow, that's fantastic.
It is a sense of security.
Yeah.
They're active participants in building their future.
And the article mentions that employees manage their investments in separate accounts.
Yeah, so each employee will have their own individual SEP IRA account,
Okay.
and they have the autonomy to make their own investment choices.
So while the employer is responsible for contributing funds,
Mm-hmm.
the employee has the freedom to do what they want
That's right.
with their investments.
Exactly. It's a good balance of employer support,
Yeah.
but individual control.
I'm starting to see why they call it simplified employee pension.
Uh-huh.
It really does streamline the process
Mm.
for both sides.
It does.
But I'm sure there are some rules and restrictions
Oh, of course.
we need to be aware of.
Right.
There's no financial product without fine print.
That's right. Always wise to read the fine print.
Okay, so let's peek at that fine print then.
Yeah.
The article goes into some rules and restrictions regarding income limitations and borrowing.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with the income part.
Okay.
What are we looking at?
So this mostly affects employees
Okay.
when it comes to calculating that maximum contribution amount.
Mm-hmm.
So employee contributions can't exceed 25% of their compensation,
Okay.
up to a maximum compensation limit of $330,000 for 2023.
Okay, so there's like a ceiling.
Yeah, there's a ceiling.
Got it.
So it makes sure that the benefits are distributed fairly
Right.
and that people with really high incomes aren't disproportionately benefiting.
Makes sense.
What about borrowing from a SEP IRA?
Yeah, are there any restrictions there?
There are.
Okay.
So you can borrow up to $50,000 or 50% of your account balance, whichever is less.
Yep.
So if you have $90,000 in your account,
Mm-hmm.
you could borrow $45,000.
Got it.
But if you have, let's say, $150,000, you're capped at $50,000.
So even if I've been saving diligently and I have a lot of money in there,
Right.
I can't just take all of it out.
No, you can't.
There are safeguards in place.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's about striking a balance,
Yeah.
between accessibility and preservation.
Makes sense. We're starting to get a really clear picture of how these SEP IRAs work,
Mm-hmm.
all the benefits,
Yeah.
all the rules. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I just want to remind everybody about that fantastic resource you mentioned earlier.
Oh, yes. If you are considering a gold IRA as part of your retirement strategy,
Mm-hmm.
be sure to visit goldirablueprint.com/exclusive.
Okay.
You'll find a free checklist,
All right.
all kinds of helpful tips and insights
Yeah.
to help you choose the right gold IRA company.
Awesome. We'll be back in a moment to continue exploring the ins and outs of SEP IRAs.
Sounds good.
We'll be talking about withdrawals and rollovers and weighing the pros and cons of this retirement savings option.
All right.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Gold IRA Blueprint Podcast. Before we jump back into our deep dive on SEP IRAs, I wanted to remind everyone about that fantastic resource we mentioned.
Yeah.
A free checklist to help you choose the right Gold IRA company.
Mm-hmm.
You can find it over at goldirablueprint.com/exclusive.
Very helpful.
Okay, so let's pick up where we left off in our SEP IRA exploration.
All right.
We've covered eligibility, contributions, even the importance of vesting.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when you need to actually access those funds? Can you just withdraw money whenever you want?
Well, the good news is that you can tap into those SEP IRA contributions
Oh,
if you need to.
Mm-hmm.
However, the article does say that withdrawals are taxable.
Okay.
It's similar to a traditional IRA in that sense.
So it's not like a Roth IRA
Right.
where qualified withdrawals in retirement are tax-free.
Exactly. With a SEP IRA, you're basically just deferring those taxes
Okay.
until you withdraw the funds.
And if you're thinking about taking an early dip into those savings before you hit that magic age of 59 and a half,
Right.
be prepared to pay a little bit extra.
Yeah.
The article mentions a 10% penalty tax
Huh?
on top of the regular income tax.
Yeah. That penalty is meant to discourage early withdrawals.
Right.
And encourage you to keep that money growing for retirement.
It's like a little financial slap on the wrist from Uncle Sam saying, hey, that's for later,
Exactly.
not for vacation.
Yeah.
Okay, now here's another thing that I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
SEP IRAs don't offer catch-up contributions for those who are 50 and older,
Right.
unlike some other retirement plans.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the deal with that?
That's a great question. And it really comes down to the fact that SEP accounts are funded solely by employers.
Okay.
Catch-up contributions are usually meant for individuals to sort of boost their savings as they near retirement.
Right.
But since the employer is the one making the contributions for the SEP IRA,
Okay.
those catch-up options just aren't there.
So if you're looking to really like turbocharge your savings
Right.
in those later stages of your career,
Yeah.
a SEP IRA might not be the way to go.
That's a good point. It's really all about what works for you and your individual circumstances.
Okay, so speaking of moving money around,
Uh-huh.
the article also touched on rollovers.
Yeah.
What exactly can you roll over and where can it go?
So you can actually roll over both your earnings and contributions from a SEP IRA, tax-free to other compatible retirement accounts.
So it's kind of like you're transferring your savings from one bank to another,
Mm-hmm.
but you get to keep all the tax advantages.
Exactly.
So where can these retirement funds go on this rollover adventure?
Let's see. The article lists Roth IRA, traditional IRA, simple IRA after 2 years,
Okay.
governmental 457B, qualified plan 403B.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, there are quite a few options.
It gives you a lot of flexibility.
It does. You can really manage your retirement savings in a way that aligns with you.
Now, even with the option to roll over funds, there does come a time when you have to start withdrawing, right?
Right. You can't let it sit there forever.
What about those required minimum distributions?
Yeah, those RMDs.
Yeah.
The article says that you have to start taking them when you turn 73,
Okay.
and they're based on the rules for traditional IRAs.
So even if I roll over my SEP IRA funds into another type of retirement account, I still have to follow those RMB rules.
That's right.
It's an important thing to keep in mind when you're planning for retirement.
Makes sense. Okay, so the article did a great job of laying out the pros and cons
Yeah.
of SEP IRAs. Let's start with the good stuff.
Okay.
What are the advantages that make SEP IRAs so appealing?
Well, for one, the high contribution limit,
Right.
like we said, $66,000 for 2023.
Yeah.
That's a lot higher than the limits for traditional or Roth IRAs.
Yeah, that's a big plus,
It is.
especially if you're in a position to contribute a lot
Right.
and you really want to grow that nest egg.
Absolutely.
And we can't forget about the tax benefits, tax-deductible contributions, tax-deferred growth until retirement.
Yep. It's like a built-in savings booster.
Yeah.
Your money is working harder for you.
Now, let's not forget about the low administrative costs.
Right.
The article talked about how easy they are to set up and manage,
Yes. Very simple.
which is great for busy people.
Absolutely.
And of course, that flexibility we talked about, being able to skip contributions
When business is slow.
if you need to.
That's huge.
It gives you a lot of peace of mind.
Okay, so we've covered the good stuff, but it's important to be realistic, right?
Right.
No financial product is perfect.
That's true.
What are some of the downsides of a SEP IRA that we should be aware of?
Oh, one of the main drawbacks is the lack of catch-up contributions.
Right.
For those 50 and older. If you're getting close to retirement and you need to catch up,
Right.
this might not be the best option for you.
And how about that requirement for equal percentage contributions for all eligible employees?
Yes, that can be a challenge for some small business owners,
Right.
especially if you have a lot of employees.
Yeah.
Because you have to contribute the same percentage of salary for everyone.
That could be a big financial burden.
It could, for
Yeah.
sure.
So that's definitely something to consider.
And then there's the RMDs,
Right.
which, while unavoidable for most retirement accounts, could be a drawback for some people. Yeah, it can feel like you're being forced to withdraw
Right.
when you might not be ready.
And of course, we can't forget about that 10% penalty on those early withdrawals.
Right. A good reminder that SEP IRAs are meant for long-term savings. You don't want to tap into them too early.
It's all about weighing those pros and cons.
Absolutely.
And figuring out if a SEP IRA is right for you.
Exactly. Not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Okay. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've spent quite a bit of time exploring SEP IRAs.
We have.
From eligibility and contributions, all the way to the tax advantages, and even some of the things to watch out for. And before we wrap up, I want to just highlight some of the key advantages of a SEP IRA, especially for those of you who are small business owners or self-employed.
Right.
What really stands out to you?
Well, I think it's an incredibly flexible retirement savings tool, especially with that high contribution limit.
Right.
$66,000 for 2023.
Yeah, you can put away a lot more.
Yeah, you can really boost that retirement nest egg.
And the flexibility to skip contributions.
Right.
You know, if you need to.
If you're having a slow year.
Yeah. That's going to be a huge relief.
It is, especially for business owners whose income isn't always the same.
Right.
You know.
And those tax benefits are nothing to sneeze at.
Oh, absolutely.
Tax-deductible contributions and tax-deferred growth until retirement.
Yeah, it's like a secret weapon for your savings.
Yeah, and on top of all that, SEP IRAs have really low administrative costs.
Yes, very easy to manage.
Which, again,
streamlined.
Yeah, perfect for busy entrepreneurs who don't want to be bogged down with paperwork.
Nobody wants to deal with that.
So if all of this has you thinking about opening a SEP IRA, but you're not sure where to start, remember that free checklist we mentioned?
Yes. Head over to goldiraBlueprint.com/exclusive.
Right.
And you will find all the information you need to choose the right Gold IRA company.
Awesome. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
But I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
Do you think, after learning all of this, that a SEP IRA